especially dealing with an entity and dealing with confidentiality, those boundaries have to be pretty narrow, or should be.
As you take the time to do just what you've said, you've got to sit down and carefully, as collectively as a council and with your staffing, your senior staff members who can provide advice, carefully weigh the right for the public to know and the right of confidentiality. And you have to weigh those properly, put them into perspective, and once you've made that decision, you move on. Thank you.
Councilor Sampson?
Just to clarify to you, Mr. Mayor, the actual in-camera motions, once they're passed, the general public's not entitled to that under the freedom of information, as far as I'm concerned, in such matters as we have discussed, the whistleblowers, because we're trying to protect the anonymity of the complainant unless they reveal it themselves.
Correct.
So at no time do we have to disclose that to the general public.
You are
Am I correct?
You are correct.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Councilor?
Under the requirements of closed meeting, okay, they do not require. In addition to that, your policy is fairly clear on what you want, the confidential principles that drive your whistleblower policy.
I appreciate that, but what I mean, the actual motion is not revealed to the general public,
Oh, correct. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
okay?
Mhm.
Because that's very important.
No, but you could, depending on the circumstances, and I'm just sort of working the whole business of how much information you provide in terms of your motion to go in camera. There could be a case when you're dealing with a policy that you could say where council is giving direction to staff to do whatever, to take action on that policy matter. You could take it that far.
Thank you.
Councilor Flynn, please.
This is an excellent discussion. Thank you. And I want to thank you for your reports and the clarity that you provide in writing of those reports. Do you have any recommendations around what resources we should be looking at, or what training we should be looking at? Because, as you know, this is an evolving area as well, and certain municipalities are struggling with trying to get this right and trying to feel more confident about that balance between what we reveal and not breaching confidentiality and being as public as possible, because that's why we're elected, is to do things in public and to receive information from the public and to tell the public what we're doing. So what would you suggest that we do? I mean, this is helpful, but what more can we do to feel more comfortable, more confident?
All right, well, individually, each of you take the time to go onto the internet and look at both your ombudsman's reports and the reports that Amberley Dabble have done. I'm a small one-person firm. I'm quite happy to give you copies if you would like through your clerk of my investigation reports, but up until these two arrived on my door since January 2008, I've only carried out 5 investigations in this area. But I'd be happy to provide that. I would suggest, and I'm now looking at your city clerk, that I would be happy to work with her to look at what resources we could put together so that we could have a good working information session or begin to look at a best practice session. Because there are some other best practices that are out there that are improving the accountability part of the act that would be good to have a look at here. So let me make the commitment to call Ms. Finn, and we will work on that to see what we can do to provide some best practices.
Thank you, and I appreciate that it's our responsibility. You have to remain neutral so that obviously we can continue to have access to you when there are complaints. But if you could, yes, help us and direct us with best practices, that would be great. Thank you very much.
If I might, Councilor Flynn and Mr. Flynn on that, and we'll verify tomorrow also with Daniel to see in the courses that we think are available for training, particularly as leading up to dare I say, the next municipal elections, it doesn't seem all that far away from sometimes. If they continue to include and expand, and sharing those best practices with elected officials in their training courses. Councilor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That strikes me, Mr. Fournier, that you're being very careful, obviously, in your phrasing of the words that we would use to disclose what we're discussing. And it seems to me you relate it to a policy. Your suggested sentences that the council is convening to discuss something under their whistleblower policy, which is a way of avoiding discussing a whistleblower complaint, for example, or an incident or an event. You relate it to city policy.
You could, quite frankly, you could use the word complaint as well in this case. Policy was not deliberately chosen in this instance. It's just my municipal training and background. I'm always referring things to procedures or policies. But referring it to a complaint in this instance would be perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. You're not restricted to
Certain words.
certain words.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, on behalf of council, I want to thank you, Mr. Fournier, for your work. Your recommendations will certainly be acted upon and confident. So thank you for being with us this evening and safe return.
Thank you very much.
Following other communications that were received to the discussion around the strategic planning exercise, and first I'd like to ask our CEO, Mr. Black,